I've just started the video. Afternoon, good afternoon. We are on another little trip out. We're on our way to Crocodiles of the World down in the Cotswolds to go meet our friends who actually bought the, remember the one I bought? I thought it was a Citroen C8, but it was actually a Peugeot 807 people carrier, the one with the opening doors, where my phone fell out whilst I was filming because I was driving along with the doors open. If you haven't seen that video, it's very funny, and I'll put it in the pinned comment at the top. I don't want to talk about cheap, affordable cars that we can actually afford to run today. I want to talk a little bit about this morning whilst I was tidying the house and washing up. Mrs. Jeff always says it takes me ages to wash up, and it's because I've got my phone balanced in front of me and I'm usually watching other people's YouTube videos. Today I was watching Richard from Challenge the Road when he went down to visit Shmee, and they are talking cars and supercars and values. And basically their video is about what cars are going to gain value, what cars are going to lose value, and what seems to be a good investment. And it's not necessarily all super high-end stuff. I know Shmee is known for supercars, but he's got a Clio V6 in there, and he's got his first car, a Renault Clio, and he's got a Ford Focus. Go and watch the video on Richard's channel. It's a good video, and it's a good walk around on super luxurious cars. Now, during their chat, they're basically focusing on what cars are going to appreciate and what's come down. But during the chat, at one point, Richard says, oh, you know, if someone might need to sell a £200,000 car because they need the money. And then they get on to talking about road tax, and they mention hybrids a little bit. And I messaged Richard this morning. I sent him a couple of voice messages. And I said, the elephant in the room that both you and Shmee are missing here is the ongoing war on the motorist. And I feel like a lot of car collectors who operate within that space of having car collections and focusing on almost focusing on the money side of thing, they're missing the general outlook for the motorist. All right, there's a big new consultation that's just been launched. In fact, it was launched on Christmas Eve. Now, why would you launch a new and important consultation on Christmas Eve? Serious video coming on that tomorrow, because I'm going to break it down in detail and I'm going to explain to everyone how to respond to it. But basically, the government are now realizing that the electric vehicle mandate isn't working, so they've launched a consultation to ask the public on how they can make the electric vehicle mandate work. This is the electric vehicle mandate that forces manufacturers to sell electric cars over and above petrol cars, and seeks to ban petrol and diesel car sales by 2030, which is creeping closer, might I add. So it's all well and good, Shmee and Richard walking around talking about the values of their cars, but you have to talk about the war on the motorist. You have to talk about rising road tax, rising car insurance, rising everything. There isn't any aspect of motoring that is getting more affordable. Not one. Look at what we saw happen with car insurance through 2025. It's been absolutely insane. And the April 2025 car tax changes, and again, I'll do a proper video on this over the next couple of days, are going to absolutely hammer us. This car, for example, you know, it's 30 years old. It's done its due diligence. It's 174,000 miles, and yet I have to pay 415, I think, pounds a year to drive this car. And this is in the sweet spot. If it was a 2007, I'd be paying £750 road tax. So road tax is absolutely killing cars, and it's all based on the emissions, and it's all based on the CO2. And we're moving towards an electric vehicle mandate, which means cars will be purchased primarily from China, who look at the pollution statistics on just how much crap China pump into the air. It's utter insanity, and I think the only way we can really get positive change on this is getting people to understand just how much of a farce it is. So the government want to shut down native production, essentially, of petrol and diesel cars to produce electric cars, which in their production are massively more harmful for the planet. So I think if you're an automotive YouTuber, you absolutely have to be talking about the war on the motorist and the fact that nothing is getting easier. We've got low emission zones are going to be expanding. We've now got talk of carbon charges for when you drive through villages. We know that we've got the low emission zone in Bristol, which is a huge scam because Bristol's got docks where massive boats come in to bring, you know, cars into the country from China. The whole thing is just insane. you've got to appreciate that the war on the motorist, and I said this in a video just the other day, I'm sorry if I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's time that I want to get the opinion of wealthy car collectors, because I talk about this as a layman, like a normal person that drives normal cars that are, you know, a couple of £1,000 or most of the time less. But in terms of the people that have got money and have got car collections, they can't exist in a vacuum where this stuff isn't going on. They have, you know, we live in the same world. They're coming under the same challenges that we are. And the other side of this with poster cars, right? And I said this to Richard as well. The difference is with the generations that we've got coming through, we just had Christmas. When I was a kid, and you're probably the same as well, underneath the Christmas tree was car-related paraphernalia. And I distinctly remember the year I got my Matchbox car crusher. It was one of the best Christmases ever. Or there was radio-controlled cars, or there's a fantastic Christmas I remember when I was even younger, that we got the Mighty Metro's Scalextric set, and I built it with my grandpa, and all of those memories circle around car-related Christmas gifts. Oh, I also got a really good, like, monster truck crusher thing. Did you have one of these? And you had like a plastic mold, and you'd overlay a foil car over the plastic mold, and then take the mold out, and then when you drove your monster truck over them, they'd all crush because they were made of foil. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it made a noise and everything, you know, all batteries and whatnot. And a car ferry as well, a car ferry that actually produced steam. Those were great presents, but they were all centered around cars. And that is why I've got, you know, instilled within me a love for the motor car. This is an interesting one. So the year I got my car crusher, I really wanted a Matchbox Dodge Viper. Now these are in the days before the internet, so I love Dodge Vipers because I just thought it was an amazing car, because I've been watching Top Gear. Top Gear is now gone. The Dodge Viper is now gone. You won't have an 8-litre V10 car to put on your bedroom wall. Now for my dad to go out and find a Dodge Viper, he would have had to go to a shop and actually browse for it to find the Matchbox Dodge Viper. These days, you don't have to do that. You just go on Amazon or eBay or wherever, and it will arrive almost the next day. The other side of that is, back when I was a kid, you never used to see impressive cars out and about in the way that you do today. So, when I was a small child, younger than him actually, my best friend at school, his dad used to look after a collection of cars for a really wealthy chap. And I distinctly remember the day he came round in one of the first R129 Mercedes 500 SLs. And I had a love of the Mercedes SL ever since that day when I was 5 years old, and there was a picture of me taken that sadly has been lost to time, stood next to this car. But the point is, back in the day, it was an impressive thing to see an impressive car. That's what the whole Mercedes and BMW brands were built on. They were expensive and they were exclusive. Now, as soon as we had the changes made to the company car thing, we started to see a shift from Mondeo man to 3 Series guy. People wanted more luxury cars. So now, when we go out and about, and I take my kids out and about, you go, oh, there's a 300 horsepower car, there's a 400 horsepower car, there's a 100 grand car, there's a Range Rover, those start at 130 grand now. And it's no longer impressive. And if it's not impressive, it's not aspirational. And if it's not aspirational, then they don't gain value. And if they don't gain value, then the classic and supercar market can't continue. Because it's almost as though all the people that are going to want to buy these cars and aspire to own these cars have already been born. That means there's a finite pool of buyers for these luxury cars. The kids in the next generation are more likely to use an app on their phone. Not only do they not have car-related gifts under the Christmas tree, they're more likely to use an app on their phone to hail an Uber, or indeed a driverless Uber. Not only that, but they ain't going to care what car it is, because it's not going to matter. It's just a vehicle that takes them somewhere, and that's where we're at. We're moving through legislation and the government's attitude to motoring into a post-car ownership world. You will own nothing and be happy. Well, we won't. You'll own nothing and you'll go nowhere and you'll be miserable. So people really need to appreciate that the attack on the motorist is more than just an attack on old Volvos. It is an attack on our freedoms and our ability to move freely around the country. I don't think in a few years' time I'll have enough carbon credits to be able to jump in a petrol-powered 5-cylinder turbo Volvo to drive to a place that uses probably a lot of carbon to heat crocodiles. which is essentially what we're doing today. And now what I'm trying to do is slightly drag out the video because I'm about to accelerate onto a fast road, and I love the sound, sport mode, of my 5-pot turbo Volvo. And the thought of an electric Ferrari, right? And again, that came up in the Shmi and Challenge the Road video. The thought of an electric Ferrari or a hybrid supercar. People forget, manufacturers forget, that the whole point of a supercar is about the experience of it. If a Tesla can do 0 to 60, that's a crazy caravan. If a Tesla can do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, none of the supercar stuff matters, because it means that the supercar thing has to be more about going fast. It has to be about the visceral experience. That's why you'd rather own an older, sports car than something that's new and fast, because speed is now irrelevant. The roads that we have in this country are useless. So what's the point in owning a fast car? Unless it is something emotive, unless it ignites something within you, unless it puts a big grin on your face when it makes that stupid noise. That's what we're lacking in modern supercars. And that's why I think modern supercars, I just can't see them holding their value in the way that the old-fashioned raw stuff does. Your F40, your XJ220, your McLaren F1, they're totally different to the modern breed of supercars, and nobody cares that the modern stuff is faster because it doesn't have the same soul. I hope all of that made sense. I can see that 2025 is going to be a very difficult year for motoring, and as I said, I'm going to do a video diving into what this consultation is all about, because the manufacturers are failing. It's another thing that Richard and Shmi said in the video. One of the things that bolstered the values of the McLaren F1 is the fact that McLaren came back and started making supercars again. If all the manufacturers start to collapse, their back catalogue of cars won't necessarily increase in value, because if the automotive industry collapses, how can the value of classic and supercars maintain? It can't. People stop using cars. What you'll end up with is you'll end up with a tiny pool of elites that own all of the luxurious cars. There won't be for you and me, and that's concerning. There's a massive knock-on effect with the rest of the market. Sorry for the slightly too long video. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas break. We're now off to see some crocodiles, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do go and watch Richard's video and tell me, I know the answer is Ferrari F40. Tell me what is your lottery win car. Let's say your numbers came up tonight. What day is it? It's Saturday, isn't it? So there's a chance your numbers could come up tonight. What would be the first car you'd go out and buy with a lottery win? Because I'd be willing to bet that for you and me, it wouldn't be anything from, it's probably going to be more than 20 years old, isn't it? Let's say you had a big win on the lottery. You got to find an F40, you got to find an F1, you got to find an XJ220. I don't think there's any car dealership that I'd walk into to order a brand new car. Everything that I would buy with a lottery win would be old, as you well know. Thank you very much for what we do it one more time, look. Oh yeah.